Have you heard of Peters Hill, the firm owned by Goldman Sachs that invests in GP stakes? How about Dial Capital, which owns GP stakes in quite a few private equity firms, including CVC, Silver Lake, and Vista Equity Partners? Or did you know that in 2021, Blackstone raised $5.6 billion for its second GP stakes fund? Well, in this video, we will talk about GP stakes investing. We'll answer the question, what is GP stakes investing? Then we will talk about the GP stakes investor perspective, the perspective of the investor that invests in GP stakes. And then we will talk about the GP perspective, the perspective of the GP of the firm that is selling the stake. And we'll end the video with a final thought. So, what is GP stakes investing? GP stakes investing occurs when a GP stakes investor buys a minority stake in a private equity firm, the general partner, the GP, in exchange for a portion of the private equity firm's returns. Examples of a private equity firm's returns would include management fees and performance fees. Now, this is a complex topic, so let me break it down for you. Let's recall the structure of a private equity fund where the limited partner, the LP, the investor in the private equity fund, and the general partner, the GP, the private equity firm, have a limited partnership agreement to form a private equity fund. And this private equity fund will buy companies that will be portfolio companies of the private equity fund. And in exchange for running the private equity fund, the general partner gets compensated through management fees and performance fees. Now, in GP stakes investing, you have a GP stakes investor that buys a portion of the general partner. So the GP stakes investor will receive a portion of the benefits of the general partner, such as a portion of the management fees and performance fees. Now, most private equity firms don't just have one private equity fund. They have many. So a GP stakes investor will get a portion of the GP in all of the various private equity funds. So a GP stakes investor is exactly what it sounds like. It's an investor that gets a stake in the GP. So let's look at this from the GP stakes investor perspective. For the GP stakes investor, some positives to GP stakes investing include income from a portion of management fees and a portion of performance fees. Income from the balance sheet investments. In other words, the private equity firm may have internal capital invested in its funds. Co-investment access. As part of the deal, the GP may give the GP stakes investor access to direct deals. And overall, it is a diversified investment, since it's diversified across all of the funds. While there are quite a few positives for the GP stakes investor, some negatives to GP stakes investing include that access is limited. It's hard to find GPs to buy unless you have connections. Due diligence is complex. You better know how to conduct due diligence on private equity firms. And it is illiquid. Once you're invested, it's hard to sell. Now, while it is illiquid, liquidity has been getting better since GP stakes can be sold through the secondary market. It can be brought public through an IPO. An example of this would be Goldman Sachs' Peters Hill that listed a portfolio of GP stakes on the London Stock Exchange. And to liquidate GP stakes, it is also possible to get financing that can allow for a dividend recap, which is not really a sale, but it does help investors gain some liquidity. Now let's move on to the GP perspective. Well, the GP perspective is a little easier to explain. After all, if the GP sells a portion of the economics to a GP stakes investor, it will want capital and possibly expertise in return. The GP may need capital to grow the private equity firm, maybe by launching new products, investing in technology and people, or even making acquisitions. Or the GP may need capital so that members of the existing private equity firm can monetize their ownership in the firm. As for expertise, well, the GP stakes investor can provide insights to help the GP grow the firm or give insights to help with operating the business in general. Overall, it all comes down to the GP's need for capital and expertise. Now, here's a final thought. While I have talked about how GP stakes are growing in private equity, I should mention that they are growing in all areas of the private markets, including in real estate, infrastructure, and private credit. Investors, with the continued growth of the private markets, there will be many new vehicles and structures created. Please make sure that you are aware of what's out there and that you fully understand the details. In this video, we talked about GP stakes investing. We answered the question, what is GP stakes investing? Then we talked about the GP stakes investor perspective, and then we talked about the GP perspective. Are there other private equity types of investing that you would like us to talk about? If so, please share them in the comments below.